Good morning, students. Well, how are you? Hope you all are fine. You are safe. Fine. Right, children. This is for class ninth. The most important chapter for you is we are dealing regarding the fundamental unit of life. As you know, children, you will see that any construction building, you know that how the wall is being erected. Most of the buildings, you will see that. So what is the thing they are arranging there? So you can see that they are being piled up. A lot of bricks are present, one above the other. So that makes the wall of a particular height. So the most basic one for making that thing is the bricks. Other all components are there, but you see without the bricks the walls are not possible. Likewise, all the living organisms also we can see around us, including our human body, we are made up of a basic unit that is called cell. So please note down. So the chapter's name is called Fundamental Unit of Life. So that is the chapter's name. So the fundamental unit means that's the basic unit. Okay, children. Now, so the basic unit, if you see in all the living organisms, as you know that it is the cell. Very good. It is the cell. Okay. Now let's see who are the pioneers who are actually responsible for giving the word cell. So you see, you all have names. Who would have given the name? Maybe your father would have given, or your grandparents would have given the name for you. Just like that, the name, the cell, that is a very basic unit, it was given by the biologist by name Robert Hooke. Robert Hooke. So he gave the year of 1665. So how did he give? What made him observation? So he was observing some cork cells. So he was observing the cork cells, and those cork cells were like this. It was like a compartments. They had lot of compartment like cells were there. They were made up of compartments. In the year of 1665, he observed the cork cells which were looking like this, like a compartments. So based on that, he gave the word called as cell. Earlier, there is another one man. He also observed many living cells. So he is actually a Dutch dry fruit dealer. His name is called Antonio van Leeuwenhoek. That's actually van Leeuwenhoek. He also observed many living cells, but actual name was given by Robert Hooke. Now, as you know, children, the cell, as you know, so it is the basic unit of the living organisms. So the basic unit of living organisms that was framed by some of the German biologists. So they are of 1838. They are Schleiden and Schwann. Schleiden and Schwann, these people from both from Germany, they gave the statements regarding the cell. So they proposed what is called cell theory. So according to the cell theory, please note down, they were telling that the cell is the basic unit of all living organisms. It is the structural and functional unit of all living organisms. So what is the meaning of that word telling that this is the structural and functional unit? It is the structural and functional unit. That means the cell is well designed in such a way to perform a particular function. Are you able to understand? The cell is designed. So all the cells are not similar. The cells are so well designed in our living body or in the plant cells to perform a particular function. Now the cell, as you know that, so this is what is the basic unit. I think it is very clear for all of you, my dear children. Now let's see the living organisms in this living planet. So living organisms, you know, they are also different. They are so diverse. We have microorganisms, we have the plants, we have the animals, we have the algae, we have fungi, bryophytes, pteridophytes, all the different kind of living organisms are there. Even among the animals we see reptiles, amphibia, birds, fishes. So like the diverse living organisms are present there. Among all the living organisms, the organisms are again either composed of a single cell or of many cells. So the living organisms that we see, dear children, they may be a single cell living organisms or multi-celled living organisms. So single celled living organisms, they are called as unicellular. If they are composed of a single cells. They are composed of many cells. They are called multicellular. So the word multiple, right? This is the word what you can remember. So uni means single cell and multicellular. So what are those example for unicellular? Very simple example. You can give the amoeba. You have studied about amoeba. Very simple example you can remember. So amoeba is a single cell living organisms. Multicellular, we have fungi, algae. Most of the members are algae are multicellular. We have plants, animals. Okay, they are all multicellular. That means they are most of the plants in all these cases, they are multicellular. So unicellular means they are made up of single cells. That means here the living organisms, as I told you, they may be unicellular or multicellular. The structure, okay, the structure, based on the structure, they perform a particular function. For example, you see in our body, the nerve cell. If you see the nerve cell is like this. You see the nerve cell is like this. Nerve cells are like this. You see. So this is also a single cell that you see in animals. A single cell, nerve cell. So you see the structure of this, isn't it? They're quite different. So based on the structure, they do some functions. You know the nerve cells are responsible for transmission of impulses in our body. So they transmit the impulses, the signals from one part of the body to another. See the structure. So this is the nerve cell. Okay, children. Now we will now study about what is the cell in detail. What are the components that are making the cell? So the components that are making the cell, there are three most important components that is making the cell. So the next heading, you are noting down, the next heading is the components. The components of the cell. What are the components of the cell? So components of the cell, dear children, here three basic things are present in the living cell. One is called the plasma membrane. One is called the plasma membrane. The plasma membrane is also known as cell membrane. It's also known as cell membrane. Another important one is the nucleus. It is the nucleus. The third one is called the cytoplasm. So, dear children, we have three important things that is present in a living cell. One is called the plasma membrane, another is the nucleus, third is said to be the cytoplasm. Now, we will deal regarding the plasma membrane. We will study about the plasma membrane. So plasma membrane is the outermost living layer. It is the outermost living layer. So if you take a cell, suppose let us take me a cell here. This is a cell. This is an animal cell I am considering here. So the outermost layer that you are seeing, that is said to be the plasma membrane. Okay. And then inside they are having the cytoplasm, and you have the nucleus here. You have the nucleus here. So this is the nucleus part, and this is the outermost layer, that is the plasma membrane. So So here, let me just mark it here. So this is said to be your plasma membrane, and this is your nucleus, and this is your cytoplasm. So cytoplasm is a fluid of substance that is present between the nucleus and the plasma membrane. This is the case of an animal cell. So we have just taken an example of any animal cell. The outermost layer is a plasma membrane. Is it clear? So this plasma membrane, as you know, it's a living layer. Then it's basically composed of, this plasma membrane is composed of proteins and lipids. Lipids are the fat substances. So they are composed of proteins and lipids. Plasma membrane is not like anything else. They only let only certain elements to pass through the cell. That means only some elements will come into the cell, and also some elements will leave the cell. So through this thing, you see, children, there are only certain elements will come. That is, let me draw from here. Only certain elements will come inside, and certain elements will go outside. Not all the substances. So for example, water. Let us take water. And some ions, some minerals like sodium, okay, like potassium. If you take these elements, they are very selectively, they will try to move inside and they will try to come outside. So only selective, not all the substances will not be let inside. Okay, so that is why plasma membrane, as one thing please note down, it is said to be a living layer of the cell. Second point, what did I tell? It is a selectively, only certain substances. So selectively permeable membrane. It is a selectively permeable membrane. So only certain substances only will be let inside. Okay, children. Now, regarding the plasma membrane and regarding the other features, we will try to see in the later classes. Are you able to understand here? So the plasma membrane, selectively permeable membrane, that means it sends only certain substances to pass inside and certain substances to pass outside. So this is what is said to be the selectively permeable membrane. Okay, next, when I talk about the nucleus here, nucleus actually controls the whole cell. It is composed of a units called as chromosomes. So it is having a thread-like structures called chromosomes. So chromosomes are the thread-like structures. Usually it is found in the inside the nucleus. So chromosomes will appear like a thread-like structures like this. So this is how they will appear. Okay, so this will only appear only when the cell is dividing. So actually you cannot see the chromosome, only when the cell is dividing. Under the microscope only you can see these kind of components. So they are actually these chromosomes, they are composing of two important substances. One is called the DNA and another is said to be the proteins. Another is the DNA and then the protein. So it is composed of the DNA and the proteins what the chromosomes are actually composed of. Now, the DNA, as you know, it is the hereditary or genetical substance. So in the DNA, what is the things that is expressing? So you see in our body, you know, what is expressing, so your eyes, all the functions here, you know that. All these things are expressed with the help of this DNA. So those particular units that is present in the DNA is called the genes. So the genes are those which are present in the DNA which are actually responsible for expressions. Is it clear, my dear? So the chromosomes are those which are actually present inside the nucleus, and that which controls the whole functions of the cell, actually the living organisms also. Next, coming to the cytoplasm. They are the fluid-like substance. It is a fluid-like substance that is present inside the cell. This cytoplasm, what it is composing of? Many of the internal cell components. There are other cell components inside the cell. These are also components only. Inside the cell also there are some other components are also present inside the cell. They are called as cell organelles. They are called as cell organelles. So what are the cell organelles? Namely called as plastids. The other one cell organelles. Mitochondria. Mitochondria is there. Golgi complex. Okay. Then we have what is called as ribosomes. So these are all some of the cell organelles which we will be discussing in further classes. or is present inside the cytoplasm. So dear friends, dear children, so let us sum up what we have learned today. It is about the cell, that is actually the basic unit of the cell. It is actually coined by the biologist Robert Hooke, and then later on it was also observed by another person, namely Antonio van Leeuwenhoek. And after that, there was the cell theory was also proposed by two people from German biologists, Schleiden and Schwann. They said that it is the basic unit. Another thing they said is it is a structural and functional unit. And based on its structure, children, and functions, the organisms that we see, they are either made up of a single cell or multi-cell. So unicellular, that is namely called as amoeba is there, that's a single cell. And multicellular, we have other forms such as fungi and algae, plants and animals. And one of the nerve cells that is found in animal cells, as you see the single, it is a single cell, right? Now, the components that you see in the cell, the basic three things are said with the plasma membrane, the nucleus and the cytoplasm. The plasma membrane is also called a cell membrane. It is called as a living layer. It only lets and exits only certain substances only. That is why it is called a selectively permeable membrane. And it is composed of proteins and lipids. The another one is that the nucleus. Nucleus is composed of thread-like structures that we see inside. That is called as chromosomes. And chromosomes are consisting of DNA and protein. And the DNA is the most functional part. That is what is called genes. So genes are those which are actually expressing, and they are what determines the structure and even the functions also. And coming to the cytoplasm, it is a fluid-like substance. And they are what is present between the nucleus and the cell membrane. And they have the many other cell components, internal cell components also present, namely called as plastids, mitochondria, Golgi complex and ribosomes. So next class we will study in detail regarding the cell components. Goodbye children.